Learning is at the core of all we do. How deliberate we are in this process is going to determine the depth of our experience and perhaps help us to find alignment with our self and situational awareness. We can really examine this further through the two models that I'm going to explain to you today. The first of these is the model of learning. The model of learning is a meta-model that is refined over time. It can be subject to paradigm shifts in our life, however predominantly develops through a state of cumulative experience and learning. The other approach is the OAR approach. The OAR approach is a cyclical tool that promotes action and progress. This is a here and now tool. It utilizes your current knowledge and skills in the most applicable and relevant way. Both the model of learning and the OAR approach are designed to develop your autonomy in your learning. Let's dive in. If we were to consider a menu at a restaurant, we would see that all of the items on the menu are options that are available to us. Some of these are going to appeal to us more greatly than others. As we work through this, we're going to start to see that we will have some preferences. And through this, we begin to understand choice. If we've had a positive experience with one of these items before, we are more likely to move in that direction. Conversely, if we haven't had that positive experience with that particular item, then there's a chance that we're likely to avoid it, even if comparatively it is the better option for us. With this in mind, we would also then think about things such as the time of day, maybe the pricing or how hungry we are, and these all become considerations as part of understanding choice and the options that we have ahead of us. Differentiating these two aspects forms a framework and perspective which is going to be useful in terms of properly informing ourselves. Understanding choice from the model of learning focuses on your self-awareness that leads to perspective, judgment, and preference. Options from the OAR approach present you with the reality of what is available to you. One of these is the learning that occurs over time, and the other is the one that seeks the possibilities of what your next step will be. We've now selected our option and expressed our preference. The waiter arrives, we place our order, and the wheels are set in motion. We've made our decision, and with that comes a commitment. There is also a requirement and responsibility for us to pay for this meal now too. We are now taking the actionable steps towards our preferred option. With this, we are going to find that making a decision is separated from choosing to acknowledge that there is the resulting action of this. There is, of course, an element of risk that exists in this, as well as a commitment that is being made through time and/or resources. The element of risk can be real or imagined, which is why the actionable stage of this model and approach are the central components to both progress and learning. In the model of learning, the acknowledgement of making decisions is your awareness of your ability to commit to an action. In the OAR approach, the action component is the one that is the practical step that you will take to be able to progress the cycle. The key part of each of these is that an action promotes feedback, and that takes us to our next step. The meal arrives and we finish this. We will know reasonably quickly if this was to our liking, or if perhaps one of those other dishes that was brought out was one that looked a little bit more appealing. Whatever it is, we're going to start to evaluate this in terms of the factors that have come before it. For example, a flavoursome meal may not have fulfilled our appetite, or a large satisfying meal may not have had the flavour in it that we're anticipating. Each of these will then be a component that is going to inform either our next set of options or inform our understanding of choice. In our model of learning, to determine success recognises that there is a range of measures that we can use to evaluate an outcome. In developing our awareness of these, we want to ensure that we are using the right measure to determine success in the circumstances and not working under a misconception as to what an appropriate outcome should be. With this, we want to be deliberate in the approach, as this will ensure that we are using the right determinant of success from the outset and being able to utilize this in a way that both benefits us in our growth, in our outcome, and in our learning. The final component of the OAR approach is reflect. To reflect is to be deliberate in pausing to consider any implications, feedback, or evaluate any of the outcomes that have come from the action. This should be short, as the intention is to progress the cycle, come back to being able to determine what our next range of options are, and put that into play. With this, always take care to ensure that the cycle progresses, for that's the intention of making progress in both your outcomes, your learning, and your growth. This provides an introduction to our model of learning and to our OAR approach. With each of these, if you'd like some more details, head over to the website where you'll be able to find a breakdown of each of these and how it can be applicable in your life. Be deliberate in your next steps. Decide what the right framework is going to be for you to be able to advance your learning and the outcomes that you experience in your life. You will thank yourself for it.